What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Math with Mr. G. Hopefully, you had as much fun as possible during the spring break with everything that's going on, and hopefully, you are ready for some more math and you're excited to move on to the next section as much as I am. If you're in algebra, that means we are now moving on from reading and graphing inequalities to now solving for inequalities. If you are in eighth grade, that means we're moving from equations with rational coefficients or one-step equations to two-step equations. And if you are in seventh grade, that means we are moving now from the percent equation to percent of change. If there are any concepts that you feel you need to have some review to refresh, feel free to check out any other videos on the channel. If there's some material that you would like to review but is not on the channel, by all means let me know and I will be more than happy to make that for you. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Alright, 7th graders. This week, the section we are covering is titled Percent of Change. For the last couple of weeks, we have been working with percents or percentages. We will continue to do so, only with a slightly different approach. Excuse me. Let's say, for example, that you go to a coffee shop, right? And you had a coffee cup, and it cost you $4. Okay? And you continue to go, and then one day suddenly, that same cup of coffee now costs $5. Okay? For purposes of our lesson, what we are going to do is find the percent of change using the following formula. Percent of change equals change in amount over original amount. Okay? This is a fraction which we will later convert to a decimal and ultimately into a percent. Take a minute to write this down. And let's go ahead and plug in our values. Okay? So in red over here we have change in amount. To find that value, what you want to do is look at the two amounts that you are given and find the difference, which in mathematics means subtract. So 5 minus 4 is going to give you 1. That is your change. So go ahead and set this as your numerator. And what you want to do next is find your original amount, which for purposes of your homework is going to be the first amount, the first number, the first quantity that you are given. In this example, it is number 4. Okay? Once you have done this, and once you have set up your fraction, all you want to do is complete that division, which we will do up here. 1 divided by 4 will give you 0.25. And the last thing you want to do to convert this into a percent, you want to multiply by 100. This will move the decimal point over, and now you have your final answer of 25%. You have the percent of change is 25%. Your original was 4, the new amount is 5, which means it was a 25% increase. For homework, you are going to have to do both. Find the numerical value for the percent and determine if it is an increase or a decrease. So if your original amount is smaller than the new amount, that means you went up, that's an increase. If your original amount is larger and the new amount is smaller, means you went down, that would be a decrease. But regardless of if it's an increase or a decrease, the steps will be the same. Let's look at another example. Let's say you go to the mall and you see a leather jacket that you like. Okay? And this jacket will cost you $200. You decide it's too expensive, you're not ready to purchase just yet. You wait a week, you go to that same store, look for that same jacket, and all of a sudden, the jacket is on sale, and you can now get it for $150. Okay? You might notice right away, the original amount is larger, meaning the new amount is smaller, you went down. But regardless, you want to follow the same steps. You want to find the change by subtracting, and then you want to compare the change to the original amount, in the form of a fraction, and the last step, convert to a percent. Okay? You want to convert it to a percent. So let's complete our first step, which is to find the change, find the difference. You want to complete a subtraction. 200 minus 150 gives me a change or a difference of $50. So let's keep that number in mind. We have 50. Step number 2, compare your change or your difference to the original. And as we mentioned before, the original is the very first number or the first piece of information that your problem is going to give you. In this example, it is 200. So compared to the original in the form of a fraction, that would be your change as your numerator, 50, and your original as your denominator, 200. Steps 1 and 2 are now complete. Now what you want to do is the last step, convert to a percent. How do you do that? You want to complete the division. Divide numerator by denominator, which should give you 0.25. 50 is 1/4 of 200. And what you want to do to convert that into a percent, simply multiply by 100 to move that decimal point over, giving you a final answer of 25%. And again, your homework will ask you if it is an increase or if it is a decrease. Because the original is larger, you had to go down to get to the new amount. It is a decrease. Okay, so far we have seen an example of a increase and a decrease. Now let's look at one more section that you will find in your problem that is very similar but has one key difference. That would be the percent of error. You use a percent of error when you are trying to estimate or when you are trying to predict something. So for example, let's say you're walking down the mall again, because you love the mall, and you see a classic gumball machine. And you get curious and you say, and you predict that in this gumball machine can hold, let's say 300. You predict it holds 300 gumballs. You pull out your phone, you decide to Google it, and it turns out that it actually holds 400. Okay. This problem is going to be very similar in the sense that you need to find the error or find the difference. Okay. In both cases, you have to subtract, but what is different is that this quantity represents something else. Rather than representing a change in this case, it is representing the error. But the steps are still the same, you have to subtract. Also similar, you need to compare that difference. Only this time, instead of comparing it to the first amount that was given, or to the guess or estimation, which is 300, we want to stay away from that for now. You want to compare it to the amount that is actually true, the true quantity. Which in this case is 400. And after you've set up your fraction, you want to convert to a decimal and ultimately a percent, so that part is also the same. Okay, so it's very similar, but this key difference can represent the difference between your answer being right and your answer being wrong. So let's see what that looks like. Again, you want to find the difference. 400 minus 300 produces a difference of 100. Next, you want to compare again, not to your original amount or to the first number that was given, but instead to the actual amount, the true number, the true reference. So you have your difference, which was 100, and for your denominator, you want to put the actual amount, the true amount. And finally, you are going to want to convert it into a percent, which you do by dividing numerator by denominator, which will produce a decimal, and ultimately multiplying by 100 to convert your decimal into a percent. And this will give me 25%, and again, this is not an increase or a decrease, but it is instead an error. 25% error. Okay, so make sure when you are doing your homework, you are paying attention to what the question is asking you, so you know if you're looking for an error or if you're looking for percent of change. And if you're looking for a change, please pay extra attention and make sure you are able to identify if it is an increase or a decrease. Okay, this is what we will be doing this week. Hopefully this video will help you out to do your homework, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or anything that you feel might not have been covered in this video, please let me know, whether in class or send me an email. I'll be more than happy to provide supplemental material or maybe even a second video to better support you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.